Hey everyone, welcome back to John's Watch. Today I'm taking a look at a new game called Davy Jones. Is it called DAVYxJONES? This game was released on Steam in early access on August 28th, 2025. Its regular price is $12.99 Canadian, or your regional equivalent, and it's developed and published by Parasite, and this is this development team's first game on Steam. This is a first-person action-adventure game, semi-open world, where you play as the decapitated body of Davy Jones, or technically you play as Jones, and the decapitated head is the Davy part of Davy Jones. It's an absolutely bizarre premise, and I was sent a code for it, and or when I got an email about it, I went and looked at the store page, and I was blown away by the visuals and the graphics, and you probably are too, because they look incredible for an early access indie game, first game, $13 Canadian. Like, that's for the cost of 2 Starbucks drinks, which is kind of crazy. It looks absolutely phenomenal, and I thought it sounded like a very interesting take on a game. Pirates are cool. There's not like a ton of piratical games out there right now, so I was pretty interested in checking it out. I've played an hour and a half so far, and that's probably all I'm gonna play. It's super promising. It's very impressive for a team's first game, but it does have some issues which definitely made me want to not play any further. But we can get into those in a little bit. When you start off, you get to go through a tutorial section which teaches you a lot of the combat of the game. You've basically got a melee weapon in your left hand and a ranged gun kind of weapon in your right hand. I played it on mouse and keyboard, so if I left clicked, I would do my melee attack in front of me. Right click would shoot the gun thing. It's very unclear what he's actually holding. If you hold your melee attack, you can do it's called a shockwave attack, which just sends, like a shockwave out in front of you. Very useful for dealing with crowds of enemies. If you hold down your ranged attack, you shoot out a big cannonball that, again, also deals with large crowds of enemies. Those are the very basics you learn in the combat tutorial. You're also able to dash with shift, and sometimes that makes you run. I never quite figured out how to actually make sure I wasn't just dashing and was running. It was kind of weird. You can jump, you can't crouch, although I did see a tooltip that said press space twice to crouch, and I was like, no, that's just going to make me jump, and it didn't make me crouch at all. And Jones, the body, even mentioned at one point that he can't crouch, so I'm not sure what that tooltip was. A little bit later, you also get a grappling hook kind of thing, and you can use that to grapple to these moons that are hanging in the sky, and they're just grappling points. You can also use it to grapple to enemies, especially airborne enemies. You can grapple up to them and just mash your melee attack button. Very satisfying when you're flying around up in the air, chaining between enemies. It's so satisfying. But I very quickly found that combat became super overwhelming and was just really difficult to tell what was going on. The audio balancing was also completely off. I'd normally just turn down the master volume and just go with that. And outside of combat, volume was totally fine. But then as soon as I got into combat and there's cannonball, gunfire, explosions everywhere, I would glance down at the bottom of the screen, I'd see subtitles there, and I'm like, I can't hear these at all. And there's just so much going on in combat. I will say the enemy variety is pretty good. Even about an hour in, I was seeing these flying imp enemies, which were immune to my ranged damage. So I would have to, I basically just use my shockwave on them until they were weakened a bit, then I would grapple up to them, smack them a few times, and then I would execute them. That's another skill you unlock as you play a little bit further. You just execute enemies when they're weak enough, they get this blue glow around them. You just press F when you're close enough, execute them, very cool. It does say it's an open world game, and when you press the map, you get the map screen, and it's completely useless. Because, especially at the start, it's not particularly open, it's quite linear. and there's, you know, pretty much like very thin, direct paths, and that's the way you go. But you open up the map, and like the paths are not reflected on the map at all. The map literally looks like it's, I don't know, like a, you know, pirate map.jpg that they've just put in there. And it's like, yeah, well, we'll just overlay a couple of icons on it, and it just doesn't line up with the world at all, so the map was completely useless. But even an hour and a half in, the world just wasn't open. There were like all these locked gates everywhere, and I just felt like I was constantly being forced down one linear path, which is totally fine. I'm just not sure why you would advertise it as an open world game when, I mean, it really isn't so far. The kicker for me when I stopped playing was I just got this new power which let me go into like some kind of like overcharged mode, and I got a checkpoint right before this combat encounter which was designed to teach me about the overcharged mode. And so like I got into the combat, did my overcharge mode, just wiped out a bunch of enemies, very satisfying. Then I grappled to an enemy and we both fell off a cliff, fell out of the world basically, and I respawned at the checkpoint, which was before the combat started. But when I respawned, I didn't have my overcharged attack built up or anything. And so the combat encounter literally became impossible for me because you're surrounded by so many enemies, you're supposed to wipe them all out with your special attack. And then I couldn't do it, so I just respawned a few times, like died within seconds, and I was like, I think I'm gonna stop playing now. I did find the game fairly unclear at times. I'm sure the combat system makes perfect sense to the people who made it, but the gun especially, I found would sometimes run out of ammo, I think. Just sometimes it wouldn't shoot, and I would like see like a snake or whatever's on the gun wiggling around a little bit, like maybe it was reloading, but there's no HUD indicator if you're out of ammo or anything. That was very, very unclear, and yeah, sometimes I'd be like, right, here we go, I need to fire my cannonball, and it just wouldn't do anything. There's also no difficulty settings. I mean, it's just come out in early access, so maybe that's planned for eventually, but I found it pretty challenging, and I was like combat encounters were literally just like mashing left and right click, and I was like, I'm not gonna give myself RSI for a review. So yeah, difficulty settings would be good, maybe something to make it less, you know, mouse mashy, but I don't know if you can change the combat enough to do that. A couple other notes: the main voice acting is really good. Davy, I was gonna say Davy Jones, but Davy, the floating skull that accompanies you, really well voice acted. He's great. He always goes all in on all his lines. He's great. Just a regular Joe's around, not very well voiced, but it's okay for an indie project, especially when the main voice is so good. I did notice that sometimes the lighting seemed a little bit off. Like I would, you know, walk into, I got to a town and I like walked into a room and it was just pitch black in there. I couldn't see anything. I didn't think there was anything in there, but like outside looked totally fine, but like randomly it was completely pitch black in some areas. So that probably needs a little bit of tweaking. Performance wasn't amazing. I was targeting 120 FPS on this one. Had everything on epic and had DLSS on by default, so I just set that to balanced. Anyway, it was mostly around 120 FPS. It would dip sometimes, which is quite surprising on a 5090. So yeah, I've definitely seen some of the reviews say that performance is pretty bad. I was obviously able to brute force it with a very strong computer, but yeah, performance definitely needs to be worked on a little bit. Their early access part on the Steam page says that they are aiming to full release the game in late 2026. I think that's pretty fair. I mean, it's you know, it is open world, but it's still going to be a relatively small scale game, and I think I guess like a year and a bit from now is probably not too bad. Like maybe it'll get pushed a little bit into 2027, but I think that's pretty reasonable. They do also say that they plan to gradually raise the price as they introduce new content and features. Some games will like keep an early access price and then bump it up when it comes out of early access. Some developers, like here, just raise it slowly as they add more stuff in, which I think is a very fair model. So if you're interested in it, now is definitely the time to get it when it is so cheap. when I'm recording this, probably before the game comes out, it's got an introductory offer where it's 34% off, and that's literally $8.57 Canadian. So I think they've done a really good job of setting a very low price point just to get people in, because, you know, they need feedback. That's the whole point of early access. So if you're setting a game up, I mean, that's like what, like $6 US or something? I'm sure loads of people saw that and they're like, yeah, I'll throw $6 at this, see if it's any good, and then they'll give feedback. Fantastic idea. I'd love to see more developers do that. So yeah, I think I'll just echo what some of the other Steam reviews have said, that it's very promising, a bit rough around the edges, but I think this can definitely turn into something pretty good. I just didn't want to play anymore for now. There you go, that was a look at Davy Jones. Thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!